At WTO, China, a developing country. Why many nations are raising concerns? Concerns have been raised over the least developed country (LDC) status, with Bangladesh potentially losing this tag after surpassing India in terms of GDP per capita. China's status as a developing country at the World Trade Organization has become a contentious issue, with a number of countries raising concerns over the upper middle income nation deriving benefits reserved for developing countries under WTO norms. Moreover, concerns have been raised over the least developed country LDC status, with Bangladesh potentially losing this tag after surpassing India in terms of GDP per capita. What are the benefits of developing country tag? Certain WTO agreements give developing countries special rights through special and differential treatment provisions, which can grant developing countries longer time frames to implement the agreements and even commitments to raise trading opportunities for such countries. WTO pacts are often aimed at reduction in government support to certain industries over time and set more lenient targets for developing nations and grant them more time to achieve these targets compared to developed ones. The classification also allows other countries to offer preferential treatment. How is a developing country decided, and why are some against China being classified as one? The WTO has not defined developed and developing countries, and therefore member countries are free to announce whether they are developed or developing. However, given the rise in China's per capita income to become an upper middle income country, according to the World Bank, and the country's alleged use of unfair trade practice such as preferential treatment for state enterprises, data restrictions, and inadequate enforcement of intellectual property rights, a number of nations have called on China to either refrain from seeking benefits available to developing countries or forego its classification as a developing country altogether. One way for China to show leadership would be by refraining from claiming benefits that would correspond to a developing country in ongoing negotiations. The European Union said in a statement on the latest review of China's trade policy conducted in October 2021. The United States Trade Representative also released a similar statement. Australia too had recommended that China relinquish its access to special and differential treatment. China's per capita income was $10,435 in 2020 according to the World Bank, while that of India was $1,928. How has China responded? What would be the impact of China losing this status? China has consistently maintained that it is the world's largest developing economy, but has recently indicated that it may be willing to forego many benefits of being a developing country. Li Xing, Chinese ambassador to the WTO, has said that the country may forego all exemptions available to developing countries in negotiations aimed at cutting fishing subsidies to curb overfishing. Biswajit Dhar, professor of economics, Jawaharlal Nehru University, said a change in status for China to a developed country would impact negotiations in future agreements. In effect, China, like developed countries, reduced its tariff on most products to quite a significant extent. What are the benefits of LDC classification? The WTO recognizes LDCs relying on a classification by the UN based on a criteria that is reviewed every 3 years. LDCs are often exempted from certain provisions of WTO pacts. Bangladesh, currently classified as an LDC, receives zero duty, zero quota access for almost all exports to the European Union. It is, however, set to graduate from LDC status in 2026 as its per capita GDP has risen sharply, surpassing that of India in financial year 2021. Thank you.